Hi everyone, and welcome to today's episode, where we are going to be talking about how to easily tell that someone was raised by a narcissist. Now, before we dive into the topic, I'm just going to go over the concept of narcissism, in case you are yet to see the other videos on the topic, or just really need a better understanding of what it means to be a narcissist, and how it can affect a person's upbringing. Also, I should mention that later in the video, I'll be sharing a few helpful tips to help anyone who is struggling with narcissism navigate their relationships better. Because, in my experience, relationships are one aspect that people raised by narcissists really struggle with, and this ends up affecting the quality of their lives. So I encourage you to watch till the end so you don't miss out on that helpful bit. Welcome to our channel, where we talk about the journey to self-development. If you're new here, we trust you're going to love this video, and if you're a subscriber, thank you for coming back. Without further ado, here we go. Okay, my most basic definition of a narcissist is describing them as someone with an inflated sense of self-importance and an excessive need for admiration. It is really as simple as that, and growing up with a narcissist can be incredibly damaging to a person's development. It can lead to low self-esteem, self-doubt, and a lack of trust in others. Telling if someone was raised by a narcissist becomes pretty simple so long as you know the traits to look out for. The first on my list being a distorted sense of self-worth. Narcissists may occasionally feel like they are not good enough or that they have to constantly prove themselves to others, and it's easy to see why. A narcissist often puts their child down and belittles them to boost their own ego. This child then grows up into an adult with a tendency to overcompensate for their feelings of inadequacy by constantly seeking validation and attention from others, or acting overly confident and trying to impress others, even if it means putting themselves in uncomfortable or compromising situations. Imagine being a child and having a parent who constantly puts their own needs above yours. A parent who belittles you, makes you feel inadequate, or ignores your feelings. This constant invalidation can lead to a distorted sense of self-worth. The child begins to internalize the message that they are not good enough, or that their thoughts and feelings don't matter. For example, they may see themselves as perfect and others as flawed, or vice versa. This can lead to constantly comparing themselves to others and feeling envious or resentful. A person raised by a narcissist is also likely to struggle with setting boundaries or saying no to others. Growing up with narcissistic parents means years of being with adults that were controlling and demanding. Parents that have very high expectations and never seem satisfied with anything you did. They would frequently belittle and criticize, and just always make you feel like you were never good enough. These kids grow up struggling with setting boundaries and standing up for themselves because they were afraid of disappointing or angering their parents, and would often agree to things that they didn't really want to do. The problem with not setting boundaries and not saying no is that it can lead to resentment and burnout. You end up putting other people's needs and wants above your own, neglecting your own well-being. It's always important to be able to say no and assert your needs, but for someone who was raised by a narcissist, this is just too difficult. Similarly, someone raised by a narcissist may have difficulty expressing their feelings and needs because, in a narcissistic household, the focus is always on the needs and wants of the narcissistic parent, rather than the child. Growing up in a narcissistic household also sometimes means ending up as an adult that lacks empathy or struggles to understand the emotions and perspectives of others. This can be due to the lack of emotional support and validation they receive from their narcissistic parents. Narcissists are incapable of showing empathy, and they don't model healthy empathy for their children. As a result, the child may not learn how to empathize with others and may struggle to understand and share emotions outside of theirs. Narcissists often belittle and dismiss their child's feelings, making them feel invalidated and unloved. They use emotional manipulation and gaslighting to control their words, making the child doubt their feelings and perceptions, which of course results in difficulties trusting their own emotions and the emotions of others. This only means one thing: someone raised by a narcissist is likely to find it difficult to learn how to form healthy, balanced relationships with others. A narcissistic parent often models unhealthy behavior, such as putting their own needs first, manipulating others to get what they want, and failing to consider the feelings or perspectives of others. This constant emotional manipulation and gaslighting leaves the child having a difficult time trusting others, and this deep sense of mistrust in others comes from the fear of being hurt or taken advantage of. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content about self-development and improving your life. It really helps our new channel, and your kindness will go a long way. Another sign to look out for is difficulty communicating, since narcissistic parents often dismiss or invalidate their children's feelings and experiences, making it difficult for them to learn how to communicate openly and honestly with others. This behavior leads to misunderstandings and conflicts in relationships. So it's very important to recognize this communication challenge and seek support in overcoming it, to build fulfilling and healthy connections with others. These individuals are also more predisposed to blaming themselves for things that aren't their fault, because a narcissist often shifts blame and projects their shortcomings onto their child. They are experts at making you feel like you are the one to blame for their problems, and do this through gaslighting, which is when they manipulate you into doubting your reality and perceptions. For example, if something goes wrong, a narcissist may turn it around so that it seems like it's your fault. They might say things like, "You always ruin everything," or "You're so selfish, you never think about anyone else." These types of statements can make you feel like you are the problem, and that it's your fault that things are going wrong. And over time, you start to internalize this belief and blame yourself for things that aren't your fault. But here's something I want you to always remember: it's not your fault. You are not to blame for the actions of a narcissistic parent. You are not responsible for their problems or their behavior. You are a victim of their manipulation, and you deserve to be treated with kindness and respect. It's also important to note that not everyone who was raised by a narcissist will exhibit these traits, and not everyone with these traits was raised by a narcissist. But if you notice someone displaying these signs, it may be worth considering the impact their upbringing may have had on their development. So, moving on. How do you work on your relationships if you were raised by a narcissist? How do you snap out of years of being a victim of manipulation and reclaim your life? It always begins with educating yourself about your narcissistic traits and how they can impact your relationships. As much as you can, seek therapy or support groups to work through any trauma or negative patterns that you may have learned from your narcissistic parent. Also, consider practicing self-care and prioritizing your own needs. Narcissistic parents often teach their children to put others' needs above their own, but it's important to take care of yourself first. This will help you have the energy and boundaries to have healthy relationships. Be aware of your tendency to seek validation and approval from others, and instead, learn to validate and approve of yourself. Finally, communicate openly and honestly with your partner about your experiences with a narcissistic parent and how it may impact your relationship, so they can understand and support you. Working on relationships is hard work overall, and being raised by a narcissist makes it even more challenging. But with education and therapy, you definitely can overcome the negative effects and have healthy, fulfilling relationships. I hope you enjoyed this session, enough to give the video a thumbs up right now, and subscribe if you haven't yet. Don't forget to share your thoughts below. See you next time.